While Denny Hamlin was celebrating an emotional win at Las Vegas on Sunday, a courtroom battle in North Carolina was heating up fast, and what just happened could shake up the entire NASCAR garage. On Monday, March 16th, a federal courthouse in Charlotte was packed with some of the biggest names in racing. Joe Gibbs himself walked in, along with team president Dave Alpern and executive Heather Gibbs. Even Denny Hamlin showed up and sat in the gallery to watch. On the other side of the room sat Chris Gabehart, with Spire Motorsports co-owner Jeff Dickerson and their legal teams. This was no ordinary hearing. Judge Susan Rodriguez listened to arguments from three different lawyers: Sarah Hutchins representing JGR, Carrie Davis representing Gabehart, and John Gibbs III representing Spire Motorsports. When it was all over, the judge sided heavily with JGR. She granted them what's called narrowly tailored expedited discovery against Gabehart. But she also gave Gabehart something back: reciprocal discovery rights against JGR. Both sides scored, but JGR got the bigger win by far. In most lawsuits, sharing documents and evidence takes weeks or even months. Expedited discovery throws that slow timeline out the window. It means JGR can start digging through Gabehart's records immediately. The judge gave both sides until the end of this weekend to hand everything over. In the legal world, that is lightning fast. To understand why this matters so much, you need to know the backstory. Chris Gabehart was a JGR guy for over a decade. He started as an engineer, climbed all the way up to crew chief, and eventually became the team's competition director. He knew everything about how that team operates. Then, earlier this year, Spire Motorsports announced they had brought Gabehart on as their new chief motorsports officer. JGR was furious. On February 19th, JGR took Gabehart to court. Their attorney Tom Melsheimer told the judge that Gabehart had stolen what he called the crown jewels of JGR's NASCAR operation. The team is claiming more than $8 million in damages, and the evidence they brought forward is hard to ignore. Nobody is denying that Gabehart used his personal cell phone to take photos of his computer screen at JGR and saved over 200 team files into a folder he literally named Spire. JGR says he chose to use his phone, camera, instead of taking screenshots because he thought nobody would catch it. Even Gabehart's own lawyers have said he feels embarrassed about the whole thing. But Gabehart's legal team is telling a completely different story. They argue that JGR's entire case is built on guessing. They say JGR has not shown one piece of proof that Gabehart actually sent any of those files to Spire. They say there is zero evidence that anyone at Spire ever received JGR's data. And they say nobody at Spire has ever used any of it. In their words, the whole lawsuit is speculation, not evidence. At the heart of this fight is a contract clause that both sides read very differently. Section 6, Paragraph 2 of Gabehart's employment agreement said that if his job duties changed from what he was originally promised, and JGR didn't fix the problem within 60 days after being told about it, then his non-compete would shrink down to just 1 week. JGR would also owe him $100,000. Gabehart says that's exactly what happened. He kept his title as competition director, but argued that key decisions about the number 54 car were being made completely without his input. He felt his authority was being bypassed and that he wasn't given the full control he was promised. That's what pushed him toward the door. JGR sees it the other way around. They say Gabehart was the one who broke the deal first by taking their private files. They fired him for cause on February 9th. But Gabehart's attorneys are quick to point out that firing came 3 months after he told JGR he wanted out, 3 months after they stopped paying him, and only after their own forensic investigation of his devices found no proof he had shared anything with Spire. There is also a messy trade deal sitting right in the middle of all this. Spire co-owner Jeff Dickerson told the court that the two teams had an agreement. An employee named Smith left Spire to join JGR, and in return, Spire was supposed to get a JGR employee back or receive a $100,000 payment. But according to Dickerson, JGR never followed through. He says he asked JGR twice to release specific employees so Spire could hire them, and both times JGR said no. Dickerson also made it very clear that Spire has no interest in JGR's information because they're aligned with Hendrick Motorsports. He even offered JGR the chance to inspect Spire's computer systems. but JGR turned that down and went to court instead. In Dickerson's view, JGR intentionally staged this litigation to interfere with Spire's legitimate business operations right in the middle of the season. There is also a timeline fight. A JGR employee named Todd Barriere said Gabehart told him about meeting Spire co-owner Dan Taurus about a job back in October 2025. But both Gabehart and Taurus say that never happened. Taurus filed a statement under oath saying he did not meet Gabehart at any point in 2025. Gabehart says his first contact with Spire was a short phone call on January 9, 2026. Gabehart also pushed back hard on the idea that his Spire role overlaps with his old JGR job. He laid out everything he did at JGR versus what he does now, and pointed out that Spire already has 3 crew chiefs, a competition director in Matt McCall, a technical director, and a head of vehicle optimization. His new position, he says, is completely different. Now back to what Judge Rodriguez actually ruled. She did not give JGR everything they wanted. She went through all 7 of their discovery requests one by one. She allowed JGR to access communications between Gabehart and Spire about his hiring, documents about his chief motorsports officer role, and files he created between October 2025 and February 2026 related to the Spire job. She also allowed discovery about JGR's race setups, but narrowed the language the judge thought terms like strategy and operations were too broad, so both sides agreed on analytics instead. But the judge shut down some of JGR's bigger requests. She rejected their attempt to get communications between Gabehart and other JGR employees about working at Spire. And she denied JGR's request to send subpoenas to people outside the case, including Justin Marks and Todd Meredith from Spire, Joe Custer from Haas Factory Team, and Rick Ware and Tommy Baldwin from Rick Ware Racing. Here is the part a lot of people are sleeping on: the reciprocal discovery Gabehart won could sting JGR badly. His lawyers now get to dig into JGR's internal messages about how they interpreted his contract, why they withheld his pay, and how they decided to fire him. If JGR mishandled any part of his departure, that is all about to come out. The judge also extended the temporary restraining order on Gabehart through March 26th. He can still work at Spire, but he cannot perform any duties that look like his old competition director role at JGR. The team had to post a $100,000 bond for that order, and JGR has made it clear they want to keep Gabehart away from Spire for the full 18 months left on his deal. Spire Motorsports, meanwhile, was mostly left out of the expedited discovery. The judge said their situation falls under normal court rules, not the fast-tracked process.